Why this happened to me? I said many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them out of them all. I want you to understand that every calling has a cross. And when you get this revelation, it reduces frustration in your life. I want you to understand contextually what's happened. God shared with Jeremiah, watch this, what he would do. He didn't share with Jeremiah that most of the religious people he was speaking to wouldn't receive it. Because it's possible. See, Jeremiah is listening to God talk about how God anointed him in chapter 1, and he didn't know I'm going to be rejected by the very people I'm anointed to help. This is weird because God gives Jeremiah prophetic ministry, but then he gives him a unique prophetic message. So Jeremiah's got a choice now whether or not to be faithful to the message that God gave him. And God did not give Jeremiah a wow message. And everybody or many people want to have a wow message. He didn't get a wow message. He got an ow message. The stuff he said didn't make people say, wow. It made people say, ow. There's a whole book called Lamentations where Jeremiah is lamenting. He is called the weeping prophet because many of his messages were messages he had to deliver with grief, and he had to deliver warnings to Israel regarding their recklessness. And he's like, God, when you gave me the assignment, you announced the assignment. You didn't reveal the inconvenience. You gave me the calling, but you didn't give me the cross. I didn't know about this part. Are y'all here? And ladies and gentlemen, it can be that way in ministry. It can be that way in marriage. It can be that way in entrepreneurship. It can be that way with promotions. It can be that way with selling a house. It can be that way with buying a house. There is no such thing as the absence of problems. There's only the exchange of them. And so Jeremiah's delivering his prophetic message, guys. And I want you to understand what happens to him. He is so hated by one of the temple officials that the temple official takes him to the gate of the city, shackles him publicly, and then flogs him 40 times. This is why Jeremiah said, you deceive me. Because if you would have told me about this in chapter 1, I wouldn't have said yes. But because there is no guile in God, God wasn't being deceptive. God was being deliberate. He says, there are times I intentionally withhold information from you until you get to a place and a space that I feel like it's necessary for you to be exposed to that. Because if, Mary, you think about how you're going to roll the stone away before you leave the house, you never leave. Did you hear what I just said? He says, I want you to get sometimes so far in the journey that you have no other choice but to stick with your yes. And at this point in the journey, I'm going to use that as a situation for me to give you a revelation, not just of me, but of you. See, God's not just trying to show you him. God's also trying to show you you. And sometimes he's got to put you in a situation where you're shackled and flogged so that you can, so that you can see a version of yourself that you didn't know existed previous to that. shackled publicly, embarrassed, flogged 40 times. And Jeremiah is saying, if I knew in chapter 1 what was waiting on me in chapters 2 through 19, I wouldn't have done it. But what if I told you? I don't know if y'all ready for what I'm about to say. What if I told you that although Jeremiah didn't get all the information he wanted, he did get more information than he thought he had? And maybe he stopped listening during the parts of the conversation that were more emotionally pleasurable for him. Because when I read Jeremiah 1, when we read Jeremiah 1, we normally stop at verses 5 and 6. Before I formed you in the mother's womb, I knew you. But that's not all God said in chapter 1. In chapter 1, verse 17, God says, get yourself ready. Did you hear what I just said? He said, get yourself ready. He says in verse 17, stand up and say to them whatever I command you. Do not be terrified by them, or I will terrify you before them. Today I have made you a fortified city, an iron pillar, and a bronze wall to stand against the whole land, against the kings of Judah, its officials, and the priests, and the people of the land. Listen to verse 19. They will fight against you. But, y'all better come get me here. They will fight, but will not overcome you, for I am with you and will rescue you. So if he promises a rescue, he's asserting that I'm going to need it. And I think sometimes when it comes to the assignment, God isn't God's not deceptive, but he isn't withholding as much as we articulate. Sometimes we're just not listening. Why this happened to me? I said many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them out of them all. I want you to understand that every calling has a cross. And when you get this revelation, it reduces frustration in your life, because frustration comes from failed expectations. When you keep, watch this, failed expectations. So when you find something you didn't expect, that's frustrating. And when you don't find something you did expect, that's frustrating too. Y'all follow me? So he says, I want you to understand there's no such thing as a calling without a cross. So I'm teaching this message, which means I'm under a lot of lights. You know what that also means? I'm in a lot of heat. You don't get lights without heat. I need more amens in there. I need some fire in the chat. I need somebody just put some fire in the chat or something. I said there is no lights without heat. Every calling has a cross. And there are times when God's slow walking us and we're frustrated by his pace, not realizing and recognizing. He says, watch this, I'm not limiting your gifts. Your gifts are ready for the calling. I'm trying to get you ready for the cross. Notice the last part of chapter 1, God's not talking to Jeremiah about his gifts. He's talking to Jeremiah about his character. He's not talking to Jeremiah about what Jeremiah can do. He's talking to Jeremiah about who Jeremiah has become. He said, I made you like an iron city. God's like, I'm not holding up what I want to do for you because you can't do it yet. I'm holding up what I'm going to do for you until you become an iron city. Because this is what comes with that. I want the promotion. Do you want pressure? I don't want anybody else to tell me what to do. I want to tell everybody else what to do. You sure? You ready to do some grown folk babysitting? Y'all not talking. You said it. I need, come on. No. Yeah, I'm tired of being on a team. I want my own team. You sure? I'm tired of other people paying me. I want to be in a position where I'm paying everybody else. You want that pressure, that payroll on your back? I misunderstood the assignment. There's no such thing as a calling without the cross.